Hey, what's up? What's up? Today I'm going to talk about your lower body, your legs. Probably one of the strongest parts on your body. I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to work my way up. Okay? So, when you're doing legs, once again, like I said, it's one of the most powerful things that is on your body. It's used the most, when we stand, sit down, stand up, walk, like I'm doing right now, when we run or jog, walking up steps. So your legs are very, very important. And if you're over 50 or over 40, over 50, that's a very important part of your body. You want to make sure that it's very, very strong and intact. So I'm going to start with the lower part of your legs. Let's work with the ankles. Ankle flexion is one of the very important things because you know how you sprain your ankle? Well, when you're doing what is called ankle flexion, that's taking your foot and just going back and forth with it. Well, with using that type of exercise, it helps keeps the ligaments in your ankles very, very, and I'm not going to get very scientific here, just going to be very plain Jane. But when you are flexing with your ankles, right, back and forth like this, right, it strengthens the ligaments. So you ever notice if you ever sprained your ankle before, which I have done many a times being a former athlete, it hurts very, very bad. It gets swollen. That's because the ligaments in your ankles aren't being stretched enough. So if it ever bends out of place, for a certain period of time, or you roll your ankle, man, it could be a very bad feeling. If you're over 40 and over 50, that can take weeks, months, for it to heal, especially even if you ice it, put a heating pad on it. So it could take a pretty long time to get that part of your legs to heal because it's not filled with a lot of muscles. There's a lot of ligaments. So there's not a lot of blood flowing through that particular area. Okay. Number 2, your calves. Calves are essential. They're kind of like the heartbeat of blood flow when it comes to, your calves. When you do calf raises, right, with your feet standing, you just kind of lift with your calves. Well, there are muscles back there. And once again, I'm not going to get scientific with that, but they're very, very important to the blood flow in your body, especially when it comes to, blood pumping from your legs on up through your body, of course, going back down to your body. And calf raises are probably bodyweight calf raises are probably one of the best exercises to do because when you're lifting that up using your body weight, you're actually pumping blood through it. It's kind of like your heart, and when you're lifting and doing those and strengthening your calves, it's going to make it a lot easier to climb steps. It's going to make it a lot easier to hop over a puddle, things of that nature, and just to kind of move a little bit more, being agile. Strong calves. That's why you see in like a lot of sports athletes, a lot of them that have a lot of hops or a lot of really good movements. And usually they got very strong calves. There was a basketball player that I saw. His name was Ray Allen. I don't know if you guys are familiar if you watch basketball. That dude has some crazy calves. So if you watch some of my videos that I've done, I have pretty large calves as well. And I always knew that having strong calves, can pretty much, you could tell if that was an athlete or not. But calves doing, just calf raises, is very essential. But not only just doing calf raises, doing toe raises. So that's just your hand. I'm sorry, not your hand. I'm rambling here. Not your calf now, not the back of your heel you're lifting up. You're lifting your toe up like this. Believe it or not, guys, we call it the shin muscle. I know a lot of track stars. They get this thing called shin splints. It's a very common thing, when especially if you're running on like a tough surface. But if you ever had pain in the front of your leg, like your shins, and you get them shin splints, they're very painful. Nothing you can do about it other than rest. But those are very essential. They are muscles in front of opposite of your calves. As we would call shins. There are muscles there, and they need to be strengthened. And that's going to give you that flexion, of doing this, and it'll enable you to walk a lot better. Because if you ever notice people walk, they walk on their heels, right? So I don't want people to look, or if you see something like that, if you're doing that, it's a good way to be aware. So calf raises and toe raises, you can stand up and do it. Just rock back and forth, lift the heel, then rock, lift the heel, rock back and lift it, right, while you're standing up, or you can do it sitting down. It's not a very hard exercise to do. It's not going to get you out of breath, right? Calf raises, once again, just doing that alone will help strengthen and give you blood flow through your body. And, ankle flexion, just laying on your bed or laying in a chair, sitting in the chair, and putting your feet up and just taking your ankle and just going back and forth with your foot, right? Real simple exercises to do. And this is stuff you can do when you wake up, So moving on up, we have the knee. Well, the knee is like the center of your upper and lower leg. The knee is a bone, and it has ligaments attached around it. So, of course, you guys heard of ACLs, MCLs, sprains, or tears. Also, what's the other one? ACL, MCL, and PCL, and meniscus, right, which is at the top of your knee. Well, in the middle, at the very core of your knee, there are ligaments attached to that, and that connects your lower leg, it connects your upper leg as well, and that's how we walk. And just trying to paint a picture for you guys real quick. You can always look at a muscle skeletal map, or you can find it online. Very, very easy if you're listening to this, and you can follow this particular type of poster. But at the end of the day, your knee is attached, and it's the core center of what you do. In terms of walking, running, jogging, exercising, and all those things. And how do you protect those things? Well, one is by doing squats. All right? Squats, sit down squats, stand up, using the chair, sitting down in the chair, standing up, those types of things. You can sit on your bed, stand up. Hell, if you're at the gym, you can definitely work your knee in that way and in that function to where you can strengthen the ligaments in your knees. Yes, I know, it works other muscles. Don't get it twisted, but I ain't get there yet. The next part is right above your knee, right? And they're called your quads, all right? Oh, before I get to that part, behind your knee, and I'm going to give you the word for it, but it's going to sound kind of goofy. It's called the popliteus. If you ever felt pain in the back of your leg, that's usually because there's a muscle back there called your popliteus. Now, I don't know any other name to call it but the scientific way, so look that up. But your popliteus is a part of the back part of your knee, and if you ever felt pain in back there because it's probably tight, you can literally just like sit on the floor, right, and just lean forward, sit on the floor on your butt, lean forward, and just grab your toes, and that pretty much stretch it out. All right. It's not a muscle that a lot of people get pain from, but sometimes it does. All right. Now moving up to above the knee, which is your quads. Why do they call it quads? Everybody knows it's quads. The full name is quadriceps, right? And with your quads, that means there are 4 muscles, huge ones. They're probably the biggest muscle on your lower body. And those are very, very powerful muscles. If not worked properly, if you're fit, if you're trying to be fit over 40 or over 50, yeah, man, you can lose a lot of strength, on the everyday life things that we do, which is like climbing stairs, standing up, sitting down, or just regularly walking, all right? It's a very, very powerful muscle that needs to be worked because we constantly use it. And that's why sitting down for a long time is one of the worst things you can do. So when you're dealing with your quads, obviously standing up, sitting down, right? That'll strengthen your quads. Just doing it in the chair, air squats. I would not recommend using weights first because once again, your ligaments are attached to those areas of your leg. And if you use too much heavy weight, you can tear it. I've known people to do it, and try to warn them, just do air squats, body weight squats, and make sure that you're doing it correctly. Make sure your knees are not past your toes when you squat down, right? And also when you come up, you press through your heels to come up, and you're also feeling in your quads. So when you squat down, your body weight should be shifted back as you was to sit in a chair. And then when you stand up, you push through your heels, okay? And that's pretty much a squat. And that's going to strengthen your quads, and you're going to have a lot of strength going on with that because it's the most powerful part in your lower body. All right, next up, right above those quads, right, you get to the area, that front area of your hip. They're called hip flexors. Well, it's kind of hard to explain about hip flexors because they are the very exact thing that you see when people are standing up and posture-wise. You know, their hips kind of like tilt back. You know, I mean, back in the days, we used to say, you know, the booty sticking up in the air. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's just walking around with a stick up there behind, right? Yeah, that posture. Well, that's your hip flexors, because if you're sitting down, I can tell if a person sits down a lot or sits down for a long time, because that hip flexor, if it gets real tight, your body's going to contort into that, you know, and that's what's going to make it very, very difficult to have, like, well, you're going to have back pain, that's for one, but for two, your belly, if your belly's not, like, if your belly's sticking out, you got a lot of stuff in your belly, yeah, you're going to start having lower back pain. You know, it's just going to cause all kind of problems. So how do you strengthen your hip flexors? Oh, it's very simple. You know, you pretty much can just stand up, hold on to something, whether it's a windowsill or a chair, and just pretty much step all the way back. You don't have to bend the back leg, just the front knee. So when you step back, the front knee pretty much bends, and then the back leg is just straight. And you just tap, hey, what's up, man? And then you just tap the floor with your toe, that back foot, and push off of it. That's going to help loosen up the hip flexor. Another one is, well, it's really made for stretching, but you can kind of pretty much lay on your stomach, you know, and bend your knees, and then reach back and grab your ankles. That will strengthen your quads, but also your hip flexors. I mean, there's so many different exercises. You can YouTube that stuff. I'm talking about how to stretch and strengthen your hip flexors. Not too many exercises, but it's a muscle that helps with your posture. So if you're walking around with a stick up your butt, you know, that walk. Oh, man. When you're walking around like that, yeah. You know, back in the days of growing up, man, that's what it was. We just called it, but I didn't know what it was until I started studying, you know, the body. And, but if you have that look, you stand in the mirror, go sideways, and you see your hips are tilting forward and your butt is up in the air like that, tight hip flexors, all right? Some of them are in reverse, where their hips are tilted forward. That means your hip flexors are very loose. Various exercises with that is just kind of pretty much just sitting down and just straighten out your leg and just lift it. Just lift it. Straight leg. Just sit on the floor and just lift up and down with one leg. Do it for about 20 to 30 seconds. And then, you know, switch to the other leg, and you're going to feel it right in them hip flexors very, very quickly. So that's pretty much what's going on with the legs. The leg is a very important part of your body, as we know, but also one of the best things about the legs, if you strengthen it, it'll keep you moving forever. And as long as you can strengthen it and keep it strengthened, you know, you don't have to use any kind of heavy weights. You can use weights as things get easier with body weight exercises, but I wouldn't recommend doing it for super heavy weights. I know I see a lot of YouTubers out there, you know, squatting 225 and stuff. That's great. If they're young, you know, muscles are good, fine. But if you're over 40, over 50, you might not want to go that heavy anymore. I knew someone who did that, and pretty much they tore their meniscus just lifting heavy. And you know, when you're getting older, once again, your tendons and your ligaments and things, they do get older. They're just not as elastic as they used to be. And what tends to happen is they'll rip very easily. So I would say for women, you know, if you're going to squat your body weight once you're under 200 pounds. Now, if you're tall and you are literally over 200 pounds and you're tall, obviously, you know, I would stay at 200. But if you're women, average height women, or women who are under 6 feet, you know, and you're weighing anywhere between, you know, 120 to 180 pounds, if you're able to squat your body weight, that's all you need to do. It's real simple. You don't have to squat 55 million times, is when you go over your body weight is where the muscles, ligaments, and joints starts to get very, very wear and tear on it, even though as you're aging and you're getting older. So you can use resistant bands. They're very good when you are trying to do leg work. So for men, once again, depending on your height and weight, just squat not the weight that you weigh now. You too, women, not the weight that you weigh now. If you lost weight and you're at a weight where that's where you want to be, your weight should not be more than that when it comes to squatting. All right. When you do squat and you want to lift your body weight, make sure you take 30 seconds rest and you don't do no more than 10 reps. Okay. Now, doing more than that will definitely give you wear and tear on your body. So just be careful with that. All right. But outside of that, legs are, like I said, are the most powerful thing. And I really hope that you got a lot of value out of this video. I didn't want to get too scientific, and I didn't want to go too detailed into it. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, when it comes to that. And if you heard of those names, all you got to do is just look it up. But if you found value in this video, I definitely appreciate it if you leave a comment below. If you have any questions of anything of that sort, definitely leave that in the comments below. I am a personal trainer and a fitness coach online. And if you are looking for an online fitness program that pretty much is going to help you get back to basic fundamental movements, hey man, holler at me below in the comments. You can email me at mikesfitnesscorner@gmail.com, and I'll definitely help you get into your fitness needs, especially if you're over 40, over 50 years old. Outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. Didn't have too much to talk about today. I just wanted to get the lower body portion of it out of the way, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.